Okay, so being a student can feel like you're in a constant financial battle, right? Well, in this explainer, we're gonna cut through all that noise and give you a super simple blueprint for building real wealth, even if your budget is, well, non-existent. Does this feel familiar? You're working hard, you're studying even harder, but you look at your bank account and it feels like you're just running in place. Every single dollar that comes in seems to vanish just as fast. It's a super common feeling, but I promise you, it is not a life sentence. Man, this quote just nails the university experience, doesn't it? It's that constant juggle. You're trying to build your future with your education, but you're barely scraping by in the present. It's a total pressure cooker. And here's a number that adds a whole new layer of pressure. Nearly a quarter, 23% of all bachelor's degrees end up having a negative return on investment. This is exactly why having a solid financial plan isn't just a nice idea. It's absolutely essential to make sure all your hard work actually pays off in the end. So yeah, that's the problem. But what about the promise? The advice we're breaking down today comes from someone who has been right where you are. We're talking about a guy who went from a struggling apprentice to a self-made millionaire, and his story is proof that your starting point does not define your destination. I mean, just look at this transformation. It's kind of wild. We're talking about going from making literally $2 an hour to hitting millionaire status while still in his 20s. This isn't just some theory from a book. It's a tested, real-world strategy that actually worked. And the craziest part, it all boils down to one core concept, a really simple set of instructions he calls the freedom rule. This is the engine that powered that entire transformation, and it's what we're gonna unpack for you step by step. All right, let's get into the blueprint itself. I want you to start thinking of this as a brand new mission for every single dollar you earn. Doesn't matter if it's from a part-time job, a scholarship, or some random side hustle. Every dollar gets a job. So here it is. The heart of the plan is this 50-20-30 split. It's so simple. For every dollar you make, it gets one of three jobs. 50% goes to your essential needs, 20% builds up your savings shield, and 30% is dedicated to building your future. That's it. Simple, clear, and really, really powerful. See how these three steps work together? First, you secure your present, cover your needs. Second, you protect yourself from those curveballs life throws at you by building a shield. And third, you go on offense and aggressively grow your wealth for the future. So let's break down each one. Okay, first up, that 50%. This is for the absolute must-haves: food, rent, utilities, you know the drill. Now, if that sounds impossible on a student budget, the key is this pro tip called brand hacking. Seriously, just by switching to generic brands for things, you can save a massive amount. These little savings aren't just pocket change, they're literally the fuel for your entire financial engine. Next up, 20% of your income goes toward building your financial shield. Now listen, this is not your investment money. This is your oh crap, life happened fund. It's the buffer that stands between you and a total financial disaster when something unexpected goes wrong. So, what you're aiming for here is to save up about 3 to 5 months of your essential living expenses. And you keep it somewhere super safe and easy to get to, like a high-interest savings account. Why? Because if the stock market takes a nosedive or you suddenly lose your job, the last thing you want to do is sell your long-term investments at a huge loss just to pay rent. This is the firewall that protects your wealth. And now for the final 30%. Okay, this is where the magic happens. Think of this as your offensive weapon. First, you're going to use it to destroy everything that's dragging you down, and then you're going to use it to actively build the future you actually want. But before you can build, you gotta clear the ground. High interest debt, we're talking credit cards, car loans, that kind of stuff, is what the source calls a vicious cycle. It's basically a financial treadmill. You're running and running, but it's designed to make sure your financial life just stays flat and honestly pretty uninspiring. So your 30% has a multi-phase mission. Phase 1 is attack mode. You throw every bit of that 30% at any high-interest debt until it is completely gone. Then you pivot to phase 2, grow. This is where 25% of it starts going into wealth-building investments, like an S&P 500 index fund, inside a tax-friendly account like a Roth IRA. And finally, phase 3 is expand. That last 5%, you can use that for what he calls risky plays, like maybe starting a little side business. So what's the point of all this? What's the end game? Well, the ultimate goal isn't just to save a pile of money. It's to build what the source calls your golden goose, an asset that generates passive income, eventually laying enough golden eggs for you to live on forever. This quote right here, this is the entire mindset shift. Most of us see money as something to be spent on bills and things, but the wealthy understand that money's real power is expansion. Its true job is to be a tool that you use to make more money. Think about it this way. your money can take two very different paths. If you just let it sit in a regular bank account, inflation is silently making you a little bit poorer every single day. But if you invest it in something like an S&P 500 index fund, you're not just saving, you are literally buying a tiny piece of the 500 biggest companies in the world. You're becoming an owner. And hey, for anyone who's a little nervous about investing, just let this sink in. It's one of the most powerful stats in finance. While the market zigs and zags in the short term, if you look at history, over any 20-year period, no one has ever lost money in an S&P 500 index fund. It's a long-term game that rewards patience. So, there you have it. That's the blueprint. From surviving on instant noodles to building your own financial fortress. The plan is simple, but it only works if you take action. And that brings us to the final and most important question. After hearing all this, what's the very first dollar you're going to put to work on its new mission?